My name is Alex Uroys, and I work in the Community Development Office here for the town of Freeport. And we have been working on creating a new system for residents and contractors to apply for permits and check the status of a permit online. And I'm excited today to show you how that system works. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to find the portal on the town's website, which is www.freeportmaine.com. And you'll hover over the Government tab. And right here you would click Codes Enforcement to take you to the Code Enforcement page. And then once we're on the Code Enforcement page, you'll see three options: apply for a permit, check permit status, or file a complaint. So if we want to check the permit status, it's going to take us to the permit portal. Once we're here, you'll see there's a few different options. There's building permits, electrical permits, plumbing permits, septic wastewater disposal permits, the planning and development application, and demolition permits. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to search for an existing permit that's already been applied for or entered into the system. And that's done by clicking on this first row up here. You'll have the icon, which is the magnifying glass, or you can click the text right below it. So I'm going to click on the icon, and that's going to take us to the most recent applications. In this table, you'll see we have the permit number, the date of the permit type, the address for the property, the owner's name, the date that the permit was issued if it's been issued already, and the status. And all the way down at the end, you'll see the view option with the eyeball icon. So if we are to go to one of these permits, let's say we want to see information for the Yarmouth Boatyard. So if we click on the view icon for that permit, you'll see the general information at the top, some fee information. There are some letters over here, which if we were to bring those up, we'll show you the actual permit application itself that was submitted. And over here, you'll have the uploaded files. This one right here, for example, is the plans. So if you wanted to see the plans associated with the project, you can do that there. At any point, when you're in a permit, if you would like to go back, you just hit the back icon at the top of the screen. And that's going to take you back to the table. At the very top, you can also use the search field if you'd like to search for a permit by address. We're going to hit the drop down and select parcel address. And then we're going to type in the address. I've typed in the first three letters for Heron Pond Lane and hit search. And that's going to bring up the permit in the system. There are two. There's a building and an electrical. And at that point, then you can click on the view icon all the way to the right and see what information is in there. So that's how you would search for a permit in the iWorQ system. So now I'm going to show you how to apply for a permit by using the town's online permit portal. So on the town's website, www.freeportmaine.com, you're going to hover over the Government tab and select Code Enforcement. Once the page opens, you'll see an icon here to apply for a permit. This is going to take you to our permit portal. For example, I'm going to show you how to apply for an electrical permit. In order to apply, you'd have to hit the light bulb icon or the apply button, and that's going to take you to the application. So very important when you're submitting an application through this portal, anything that is marked with the red asterisk needs to be completed. You cannot leave that field blank. If you do leave it blank, the application will not go through. So we'll make sure that all of those fields are filled in. The other thing that's very important is at the top, you need to make sure you find the property and you need to have a contractor. If you're not in the system as a contractor, you will need to call the code office first at 207-865-4743, extension 103, to make sure that you are entered into the system, or else you won't be able to submit the permit application. If you are a homeowner doing your own work, you would type in owner in that box. Once you have filled in all of the required fields, you would hit the submit button at the bottom. If you'd like to check to make sure that it did go through, how you would do that is by clicking the Freeport Maine button at the very top left. That's going to take you back to the portal. And you can, at that point, hit the magnifying glass to search for an existing permit. And you should see your application that you just submitted at the very top with the status of online submission. So that was a process for how to apply for an electrical permit. The process is very similar for our other applications. However, there are a few key differences that I do want to touch on. If you are applying for a building permit, we do have a checklist of information that would need to be submitted. So if you click on the residential checklist requirements, it's going to bring that up as a PDF. These other items would need to be submitted with your application as an upload or an attachment. And I'll show you where that would be done. So when you apply for a building permit application, you can hit the contractor with a hard hat icon or the apply text. It'll take you to the permit application. At the very bottom, you'll see the Choose Files button. And that's where you would upload all the information that's required on the checklist. When applying for a plumbing or a septic wastewater disposal permit, you would need to provide us with the state form for those applications, and that would be done as an upload at the bottom of the application. So if I click on the wrench icon to go through the plumbing permit application, similar to the electrical permit, you would have to enter the property and the contractor, make sure all the required fields are entered in. At the bottom here, the Choose Files button would be where you would include the state form for your plumbing permit application before hitting submit. The process is similar when applying for a septic permit. You would hit this paper icon with a ribbon on it. And again, property information and contractor would need to be completed. In most cases, if you don't have a contractor for a septic permit, you could just use owner as the contractor. A lot of times when people are getting permits for those, they don't quite have the contractor picked out, which is fine for that type of application. At the bottom, you would see the Choose Files button, which is where you would upload a PDF of the septic design. So next I'm going to show you how to submit a building or zoning complaint to the Codes Enforcement Office. And I'm back on the homepage of the website, www.freeportmaine.com. I'm going to hover over the Government tab and select Codes Enforcement. And on this page, you'll see there are three icons. The icon all the way to the right is to file a complaint, so you'll hit that. And that's going to take you to the iWorQ code violation portal. If you're looking to submit a code complaint, you would hit the emergency light icon right here. And that's going to take you to the web form. This is where your information would go on the form. Your name, address, email, phone number, city, state, zip. This particular section of the field is specific to the current property owner. As you'll see, this section is not required. It's more common that people don't know information about the property they're complaining about, so that's fine if you want to leave that section blank. However, we will need a description of the complaint. And then down here, you would sign your name. At the very bottom, you have the Choose Files button. This is where you could upload a photo. If you believe there is a junkyard violation and you want to upload a photo of that, that's where you would do that. And at the very bottom, you would hit Submit. If you have any problems at any point using the Code Enforcement Portal, I would suggest calling the Code Office directly at 207-865-4743, extension 103. Thanks.